Thank you, Nikki. Introducing your next speaker of the morning. I'm so delighted to be here, as many of you also are to be in person and connecting with each other real time. I'm also really impressed by the turnout here, not only of the women in the house, but the men who are here to support. Amazing. What do I know about technology? Not a heck of a lot. But I do know something about something that's very beautiful to me, and it's called the sweet science. Boxing found me when I was 19 years old at a time when I was very lost, feeling very hopeless, and feeling very alone. I had just dropped out of university again. Feeling like a failure, but still feeling pretty sure about my future because I knew where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in a classroom. I wanted to be in the gym. I wanted to be learning in the gym. You see, I had just transformed myself, my body. I was struggling with body image issues and self-esteem as a teenager. I transformed my body through exercise and fitness because I decided, well, if I'm not happy with the circumstances, then I need to do something about this. When I found my confidence through movement, I decided I wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to making fitness inclusive, welcoming, and accessible. So I'm at the gym. I have this gym job. And I'm doing data entry at the front desk because as I'm studying to be a personal trainer, I'm working real time. That's what I wanted, right? That's what I wanted. I left school sitting behind a desk to sit at the gym behind a desk. And these boxers would come in. They'd come in, the likes of Sid Vanderpool, Everton McEwen, Canadian legends, every day. Where were they going? They were going down to the basement where we housed a very sophisticated boxing club. And that's how I was introduced to boxing. In order to use the facilities, I had to pass the boxing room to get to the washroom. And every time, take a peek, see the guys in there. Yep, mostly guys. I didn't see many women in there. Take a peek. The sounds, the sights, the smells. The smell is real. It hits you like a wall. So eventually I went from walking past the boxing room and peeking in to sitting ringside on the bench eating my lunch. When one day, Everton McEwen himself nudges me and says, you know, you can do that. Me? Yeah, you can do that. And so I did. Fast forward to 2003, I'm sitting in the back of the venue waiting for my name to be called. And for your main event, fighting out of the blue corner, give it up for Yvette, Wrecking Ball. My opponent is circling me like a vulture, trying to intimidate me, trying to break me before we even step through the ropes. I stay focused. I stay clear and confident on my game plan. I'm not here to fight her fight. I'm here to fight my fight. The anticipation of what's about to happen is enough to just make you melt in your seat, crumble from nervousness. But I stay calm because I remember two things. I had built my team to get here, and I trust my training to get me through. My ring walk, my name is called. It's time for me to step through those ropes. I step through those ropes. It's showtime. Ding, 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 and your winner by unanimous decision. I won that fight, but I didn't win that fight alone. I was very aware of the people that helped to prepare me to get me to that place. So what is boxing, and what does that have to do with you? Well, I bet it piqued your curiosity when you saw that there was a speaker today who was going to speak about boxing analogies and bringing them into the boardroom. Boxing for me is a philosophy, it's a wisdom, it's a way of living, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of breathing, it's a way of moving. There's strategy behind the punches. And in your world, you're all about solving problems. In your world, you love that adrenaline when you know you're about to land that TKO, you're about to land that concept, that idea that works, right? Just like a boxer. The problem is, just like my opponent that evening, you see, I was the underdog of that fight. She underestimated me because she was more experienced than me. She had way more fights than me. She was younger than me. She was the 2-time national junior champion. I was supposed to just be a walkover, we call it, a tune-up fight for her while she was on her way. See, in 2003, when I was competing in boxing, I did not have the option to go to the Olympics. Women's boxing was not welcome or invited or an option until 2012. So my options were very limited. What else is boxing? Well, we are facing an opponent. Here you see touching gloves. I touch my opponent's gloves because I honor what she is about to do. I honor all the work that she put into being here this moment to compete against me. I honor all the fears, the sacrifices that she has made to be here so I can work on my skills. See, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And in order for you to give me that challenge, I honor and respect that. If somebody is challenging you in life, you honor and respect that opportunity to grow. There's Teresa. She's one of my sparring partners back in the day. And there's my coach, Billy. This is when I became Ontario champion. And I would not be there without Teresa's sparring. See, in sparring, what we actually do is we build each other. We give each other work in sparring. Now I know boxing sounds like a really violent, it's kind of odd, right? Like, why would you want to box? What possesses people to want to step into the ring and get hit? I'm still figuring it out myself. But I do know this much. It's that opportunity to find out what you're made of. And, you know, if you can tap into aggression along the way and put it in an appropriate place, why not? We don't talk enough about aggression. I had a place where I can put my aggression, and that felt good. And that helped me develop me as an adult. So our sparring partners are there to develop us. And when it's her time to shine, I'm there to spar with her to develop her. Without that real-time experience of having somebody showing you what you're going to be facing on fight night, then you can't develop. You see, the boxer looks alone inside of the boxing ring. And it's a huge misconception. It's a huge oversight in we think it's a lonely person's, it is a lonely person's sport. See, I've been teaching boxing. After I left boxing, I did turn professional in 2003, after that fight that I had told you about. And I realized very quickly that there was, I belonged somewhere else. I needed to teach this art, this sweet science. I needed to be available. I needed to dedicate to teaching from a fitness perspective, to help people embody what it means to feel supported while they are working hard, because that's what we do at the boxing club. We work hard. And then we have everyone else there, the community, the camaraderie to cheer us on. I told you that I was 19 years old when I found boxing, or boxing found me. One of the proudest accomplishments to date currently is I am teaching at the University of Toronto, the first program of its kind, teaching boxing for confidence, non-contact boxing training for confidence, for self-esteem. I am giving back to that age group where boxing found me and saved me. We have this saying in boxing, in our inner circles, boxing saves lives. Hashtag, sounds like an oxymoron. Your first thought is, ooh, boxing is dangerous. Boxing causes injuries. Boxing causes brain injuries. I'm talking about non-contact boxing. I'm talking about boxing training. The elements of focus, discipline, goal setting, physical, mental, emotional conditioning is what I'm talking about. So today, I'm going to go through 3 concepts with you. It's hard to pick just 3. 3 concepts taken from the boxing ring, bringing into the boardroom to help you today feel like and find your fighter within. And when you find your fighter within, when you empower yourself and you have the tools to do that, is when you can elevate others. Concept number 1. Okay. I'm going to do something really risky here, and I'm going to ask you to yell out what you see here. Give it to me. What do you see? What do you notice about her stance? I want to hear it. There's no wrong answer. What do you notice? Yell it out. Ooh, you guys are amazing. Powerful. Wide stance. Ready. At ease. Bent knees. Love it. Balance. Focus. Concentration. Confidence. Oh, I could be here all day. This is good. Thank you all. And I hope you heard all of those because they're all correct. The stance. Balance. Somebody said balance. In life, do you make decisions from an imbalanced place? No. In boxing, do you punch like this? You don't punch like this. I say no ballet. No ballet in the boxing room, please. No ballet. None of this. Okay? You get into stance. You're balanced. You move with agility, a center of gravity. How can you do that in life more? How can you come from a balanced place when you're making choices, making decisions, when you're striving for your goals? You need to punch from a balanced place. Somebody said ready. Loved it. Ready position. I have 3 nephews. They are now teenagers, back to back to back. My sister had 3 boys. And I have no kids, so they were like my playmates because I always want someone to play with because I love sports, I love playing, I love recreation, I love activity, and I love ping pong. Ping pong, yes, you heard me right. I love it, I'm obsessed. I got a table for my parents' house because they have a basement that fits a ping pong table. I got a table and I said to my 3 nephews, James, the youngest one, his eyes were barely above the table. I said, James, hold this paddle and hit the ball back at me. He's like, I want to play video games. I'm like, nope, you are doing this until you're good enough to beat me because I want someone to play with. All 3 of my nephews can now beat me at ping pong, but that's besides the story. And I would say to James, ready position. Ready position, James. And he'd be leaning against the table. James, ready position. I bet you he's beating me now because he learned the benefits of being in a ready position. Do you show up to a meeting not ready? Do you show up to a job interview not ready? Sometimes, right? Sometimes things happen. Life happens. If we've learned anything the last 2.5 years, the unknown happens. The unpredictable can happen. Core strength. Are you fit to fight? Are you fit to fight? Did you train for this? Did you train for that new job, new position? Or did you just expect to show up and perform? I have a client. He'd kill me if he knew I was telling this story. Maybe not. And I'm teaching him how to jump rope. I teach all my students how to jump rope because I feel like it's an incredibly important skill, physical skill, but not just physical, but it's an important skill to develop because it's very frustrating. Anybody here tried to jump rope recently, especially if you haven't done it in decades? It's really frustrating. You trip over your own feet, you trip over the rope, you look at the rope like there's something wrong with the rope. You're looking at the rope, right? This rope sucks. That's my client. Never skipped before in his life. He's in his mid-40s, and I hand him the skipping rope. Every time we go through the skipping exercise, he gets frustrated with himself. He gives up. And he says, I suck at this, I can't do it, and I don't want to do it because I don't like doing things that I suck at. And I said, you are offending me right now. I'm very, very real with my clients. He looks at me. I said, I practiced skipping for years. I stepped into a boxing club full of men who could skip amazing. You ever see a boxer skip? And I couldn't skip. I didn't skip as a young girl. I was playing balls. I was playing handball, that's what it's called. I was playing soccer. I was playing baseball. I wasn't skipping as a young girl. I had to learn. I had to get past my feelings of inadequacy, embarrassment, shyness, and push through. Core strength, are you fight to fit? And that means mentally and emotionally as well. Are you doing the things to train to go the distance? Boxers train to go the distance. I'm not going to show up for an 8-round fight and only prepare for 6 rounds. Why would I do that? We need to maintain our energy throughout the course of the fight. If I'm scheduled for 8 rounds, I need to know that I can go 10. We don't want to train past peak. You don't want to do that. You want to show up in peak form. And in order to train to go the distance, we need to learn how to manage that adrenaline so that the adrenaline itself does not peter us out, does not tire us out. We are our own toughest opponents sometimes. We tire ourselves out. Overthinking, self-doubt. Did I do this right? Did I say that wrong? Can I fulfill the requirements of this role? That takes up so much space. In boxing, we don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. We don't have space. We don't have space. Nowhere do we have space for any second guessing or self-doubt. Because guess what? Probably one of the smartest, most intelligent things that the great Mike Tyson said once is everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Okay, this is Sandy Sikoris, a friend of mine. She is the first person, Toronto professional fighter, to win a world title on GTA soil. Sandy Sikoris, she's the one feeding the jab to her opponent. Now, the jab is a fascinating, beautiful, the most important punch in boxing. Did you know that? No, you thought it was the knockout, right? You thought the knockout was the most important punch. Anybody here a boxing fan, by the way? And that's okay if you're not. My goal for you by the end of today is to go home and YouTube Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, or Mike Tyson, or Layla Ali. How about that? Or Christy Martin. Okay, boxing fans, let's do this again. Any boxing fans in the house? Don't be shy. Thank you. Don't be shy. Okay? It's not. Listen, it's been 25 years that I've been having this conversation, trying to convince people. I'm not even convincing people anymore. I'm just showing up and showing people the benefits of boxing training beyond what you assume or what you think is boxing, which is just punching. It's not. There's so much more beyond that. So the jab, the most important punch in boxing. What's the intention behind that jab? That's what you need to ask yourself. So look what's happening here. What Sandy is doing, she is using her jab to keep the threat out of reach, or just within reach. She's using her jab to keep distance, to find reach between her and the challenge, the threat, the unknown, the unpredictable. She's taking space so that she can see what's next, so that she can see options. If she's too close, if she's in the inside, you can't see what you can't see. What's the intention of the jab? What she's doing here right now, she is creating an opening. Do you create openings for yourself in your life, or do you wait for opportunities to come and fall on your lap? As boxers, we create openings. We poke, we look, we test. Jab is very important. It's part of the game plan. Do you have a game plan? Of course, we all have a game plan, right? And sometimes the game plan is to not have a game plan, because sometimes you've been working so hard, goal setting, you've been working so hard at your goals, again, that you can't see anymore. And it's time to reassess. It's time to think again, is this goal what I really want? So alongside boxing, I teach boxing for fitness, but my first, as I mentioned before, personal training was my first love. I am still a personal trainer. I have clients that have been with me. My longest standing client right now is 17 years. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, Yvette, you suck as a trainer. Why is your client with you for 17 years? She hasn't gotten the results that she's looking for yet. It's the relationship that we're building. I'm getting to know not only her body, but I'm getting to know her lifestyle and what her body requires. When the pandemic hit, most of my clients went virtual with me because they're like, Yvette, I don't know what I need right now. I might not need to lift weights, but I definitely know I need that support, that mental fitness to continue that conversation. This just dawned on me as I was really sitting with these concepts after almost 25 years of being in and around boxing. It's been my whole life. I've dedicated everything. I realized this concept. Work your weakness to nurture the knockout. We build our jab. So if I'm a right-handed fighter, I have my left foot forward, this is my stance. So that I keep my power, I hide. This is my secret. This is my part of my arsenal that can send me home very, very happy, or at least send my opponent home not very happy. But the jab, I work my non-dominant hand to be the most important punch in boxing, like I mentioned before. It's a skill that we develop as boxers from nothing to be the most important, so that the jab can set up and nurture the knockout. I can now consider myself a master because I've jabbed at least 10,000 times. Now, this got me thinking, what does this have to do with you? And what does this mean about when we can nurture those skills we can build those skills to nurture our strengths? You already know that you're organized. You already know that you're a good people person. You already know that you're efficient with deliverables. You already know that about yourself. But what are the skills? What is the jab that you need to be working to get more of a 360 so that you can offer, so that you can position yourself in a way where when opportunity does knock. And when you know that about yourself, that you are in the midst of developing, you know that about your peers. And you're more patient with your peers because they are also developing their non-dominant skill. When I became the first ever female professional ring announcer in Canada in 2018, I look alone in that ring. I will tell you this honestly, doing that was way more scary than fighting than competing in boxing, than having somebody standing across the ring looking at me, hungry, trying to take my head off, trained to take my head off. This was more nerve-wracking. I was the first woman. After I had stopped competing, I had stepped away from the competition realm for years. Remember that man who nudged me beside the ring that one fateful day? I ran into him over 10 years later, back in 2015, over 10 years later, at an event similar to this one. It was actually a corporate event. It had nothing to do with boxing, but one of the speakers was a boxer, and so he was there to support. Everton, it's been 10 years. How are you? He's like, wow, my goodness, girl, how you doing? And, I've heard you've gone and done well, and what are you up to? Sit down. We had dinner together, and we just talked about boxing, of course, for the next 45 minutes, nonstop, catching up. What have we been up to? I had stepped away from competition. I was teaching for fitness. I was running my own business. I was an entrepreneur. I was doing this full time. I was introducing thousands of people to boxing training to help them with confidence, self-esteem, power, and relationships, building relationships. Suddenly he turns to me and he says, you know what? You need a mic in your hand. I said, Everton, you're crazy. No, I'm serious. I have a show coming up. I want you to be my ring announcer. Are you serious, Everton? I had no stage presence training. I was comfortable in the ring. I had that going for me. Throw me in a ring, I'm good. Pillar to post, I could do it. Ask me to speak into the mic. So off I went, taking storytelling courses, working my job. Remember? Work your job. Build those non-dominant skills, voice lessons. I even took improv classes. Here's the thing. The more I did it, the more these young girls would come up to me, I love what you're doing, wow. And I didn't know. I was very well aware of what was happening, but at the same time, I was just trying to get through and trying to do a good job and trying to make my sport proud. And then I started to realize the impact. And you hear a lot of talk around equity and equality. And I was part of these conversations. And there were quite a few times where I'd be in conversation with other women, and they wanted to see equality and equity. They wanted it to happen yesterday. And I had to say, you know what? I'm here because men gave me opportunity, but it was the women who cheered me on. I was surrounded by males who saw my potential, who saw my dedication. So I say to the women, I say to young girls, make a case for yourself. This is similar to what I think one of the speakers was saying earlier. Make a case, show them why. Not just because you're a female, but because you're right. Because you've done your homework, you've done your road work. So I give a lot of credit. I give credit to myself for sticking around long enough. I heard through the grapevine. It was probably after about my 5th professional show. And a very trusted advisor told me, Yvette, I don't know if I should tell you this, it's gonna upset you, but there was gossip at ringside that the only reason you got this gig is because you're dating a certain someone. Oh, so many emotions, right? Anger, sadness. I was actually sad about that. Now, the person who said this obviously didn't know my pedigree. They didn't see me tinkering away in the tool shed. This person didn't know what I had sacrificed. This person just made an assumption because he wasn't comfortable with seeing me up there. It made him uncomfortable. So I reached out to him on Facebook and I said, hey, I hear that you might have a misunderstanding about my role and my position here, I'd love to talk about it and enlighten you and inform you a little bit more of actually what I've been doing in the background. Radio silence, of course. So we have those people who are our allies, and we lean towards them, and we recognize them more and more, earlier and more readily. And it's easier when we can recognize each other earlier, like the men in this room today. Because then it saves us from wasting our breath on someone who's just gonna assume I got the gig because I was dating somebody, really? How about the great job that I did? You didn't see that part, right? No, he didn't see that part. The third concept and the last concept, the third concept. Every time I show this concept at an event, it's the winner. People take away from this many lessons. The corner. That's Sandy again, and that's my coach again, Billy Martin, and that's Donovan Boucher in the background, the referee. You know, in boxing, we have a stool, and you see the boxer, and they go, and they sit. They take a break, they have 1 minute. 1 minute to rest, reassess, check in with the game plan. Take advice from your trusted advisor, who is your coach, who knows you better than you know yourself, who you have entrusted your whole life to in this moment. And he or she or they can see what you don't see, and they can help you make adjustments for the next round. If you have 8 rounds to fight, you have 7 minutes in between each round to come back in, make an adjustment, and adapt to what is happening in front of you real time. Do you do that for yourself? You've prepared to go the distance. Great. Did you allot those 1 minute breaks to sit on the stool, rest, and reassess? Adapt to what's happening in front of you. Okay, Lucia Riker. Woo, she just pops off the page. She was one of my idols. I don't like to use that word too often, but when it's fitting, it's fitting. Lucia Riker was a professional boxer. She came from kickboxing. She was once referred to as the most dangerous woman on the planet. Okay, this is where I get you involved. I want you to tell me, please, and yell it out, what emotion is coming off the page here? What do you see? What's happening? Determination. Focus. Fearless. Fierceness. Strength. Passion. Power. Wow. Emotions are going to come up on your journey. They are going to show up. We do not fight. We are trained to not fight from an emotional place. Don't let the emotions blind you from the task at hand or what's in front of you, the game plan. Recognize them. Put them aside for now. You could channel them. You could channel them until it's not useful. Know when emotions are useful when it comes to performance, and know when it's time to park them so you can come back to them later that day, sit in the corner, and sit with that emotion. So, when it comes to empowering others, we have to empower ourselves first. We have to. I'm standing there in that ring face to face with the toughest opponent of my life. For me to do that, I give permission for other people to do the same for themselves. Empower yourself so that you can elevate others. You're about to step into the ring. Do you trust your training? Did you prepare for this? Do you have your team? Do you have your team surrounding you? Because guess what? Not everybody wants to be the boxer. A lot of people get value and satisfaction from being the cheerleader. Don't take that role away from them either. Thank you for your participation, for your time today. Thank you for your warm welcome to attend this event and to speak about something that's very near and dear to me, and I hope it has helped you find your fighter within. My name's Yvette Raposo.